It's time to start rallying around America's young conservatives and explore what it means to be a young Republican in the 21st century. In a world where it seems like everyone under 30 must be a liberal, these are the stories you haven't heard before from the voices of America's young conservatives. So let's find out what it truly means to be raised right. So I'm here with Tom Bogart on the Raised Right podcast, who was essentially the founder of the Southwest Freedom Flyers, which made national attention after they stood up to their employers at Southwest against the vaccination mandates. So Tom, thank you for joining us. I appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background, with Southwest up to this point that you guys were told you had to get the vaccination.
So I've been at Southwest 6 years. I'm a first officer based in Houston, and just right out of the gate, I got to get it out of the way. While I'm an employee of Southwest, I speak for myself, not on behalf of the company. I've been at Southwest for 6 years. Before that, I was a corporate pilot for Chevron, the oil company, and Freedom Flyers started right around the same time that United Airlines came out with their mandate in early August. We had felt kind of that this was coming if you were paying attention to most news outlets or whatever through the spring and summer. And me and another pilot began collecting emails from like-minded pilots that we were flying trips with. But once United's mandate came out, things just really exploded. And from that time, early August, we maybe only had 200 or 300 pilots on our kind of email distribution list, but we changed to Telegram, which is a great tool for organization. And we've since exploded into almost 10,000 employees across all work groups inside the corporation, and they're all over the nation.
That's incredible. How are you guys able to put, such a huge group together?
Well, Telegram was a huge part of that. It's just an easy way to communicate. And there's many different departments, if you will. It's a grassroots movement. So we're not like we are officially organized. We incorporated in Texas just for legal protections, but just getting everybody together with like-minded individuals. And there are, I don't know, almost 100 volunteers working in the background who are just really dedicated and motivated to push back against this tyranny that the government is opposing in the corporate overreach.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, what was the motivation for you to start a group like this, and why were your freedoms so important to push back against your employer?
Well, I mean, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm a single father of three. I got three between the ages of 12 and 14, and I'm doing it for them. I mean, what better thing can you do as a parent than to leave a legacy for your kids that is better than the one that you lived your life? So I'm doing it for my legacy, but I'm also doing it for America. I mean, it's very clear that the country is under attack right now, and they are eroding the bedrock of the country, which is the U.S. Constitution. We have to stand up and fight as people, because it's very clear to me that nobody really is coming to save us, and it's up to the individuals. So we're trying to reel in the entire transportation industry to push back against this. So we'd like to get a hold of the truckers and air traffic controllers. The airlines are already pretty much organized. Every domestic carrier and even a few international carriers have Freedom Flyers groups.
That's amazing. So, the normal American that hears your guys' story, you see the video saying, we're pushing back against these mandates, and then Southwest announces that they're going to hold off on the mandates, and it looks like a win-win, but that really wasn't the case. You guys aren't out of the woods yet, correct?
Right. Yeah. They were a hard line at the beginning, like United Airlines was, and saying that that they were gonna put us on unpaid leave beginning December 8th. Obviously, since then, the Biden administration has pushed that deadline back to January 4th. But in the meantime, Southwest had softened its stance and has changed to saying that if we are in the exemption process on December 8th, that we'd be allowed to keep our jobs in the meantime. The exemptions right now going through, I haven't seen any religious or medical denials. The religious exemptions are being granted pretty freely as we speak. However, the company, the accommodation that comes with the exemption is pretty open-ended, saying continue to work as you have been, using masks and social distancing, but that the company could come and change that accommodation at a later time as they see fit, and it would probably include at least weekly testing.
Right. So I'm sure you guys have a lot of goals and a lot of things that you're working on throughout, the whole life of this, but what's the main focus right now that you guys are working on?
Um, Man, I mean, we're hitting all different places. We had a couple people yesterday meet with Governor DeSantis in conjunction with the United Group. We're trying to attack has a negative connotation, but raise awareness with state and federal elected officials, because it seems that a lot of the elected officials aren't exactly in the know about what's going on, which might be quite shocking. I know it's shocking to us when we found out, but the main purpose is to raise awareness. I mean, like I said earlier, Americans need to stand up and fight back for this, and we need to band together. So, however we can do that, we educate our people, who are in the group, on their rights under law, Title VII, the American Disabilities Act, and that they're allowed to be granted exemptions, under law, and continue to work under law. So a lot of people, I didn't know what Title VII, unfortunately, I didn't know Title VII and the ADA and the ins and outs of that. And so we try to educate all our people so that they understand their rights, so they can protect their jobs. We're holding a rally in Dallas on Saturday outside of Dallas Love Field headquarters, or outside the airport, to help raise awareness with the public. I'm doing several media spots, like you, today and over the next few weeks. And together we can get together and push back and be loud. I think that's what the American people need to do.
Absolutely. So what's the best way for people to help support you guys in your movement?
They can visit our website, southweststands.com. And if they want to get involved, I think another website that we're involved with is Move Freely America. It's movefreelyamerica.org. And Move Freely America, the goal of that organization is to prevent vaccine passports for travel. I think if anybody's paying attention to what's going on in the world, you can see the next steps coming. Gavin Newsom in California recently announced that it would be mandatory for all public school children to be vaccinated. If you look at Justin Trudeau in Canada, they just made it mandatory on October 30th for all air and rail travelers to be vaccinated in order to travel. So, and if you want to go even a step further than that, you can look at what's going on in Australia. And if anybody doesn't know what's going on down there, I highly recommend you take some time and educate yourself about what the future could hold. And like I tell many people, do you think that the Australians thought 3 years ago they'd be in the position they're in now? And everybody says no. And I ask them then, do you think Americans thought that we'd be in this position that we're in now 2 years ago? And they say no. So the question is, where are we going to be in 3 years if we don't stand up and push back against this tyrannical government?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the handwriting on the wall that we can see is having to provide vaccination proof to even to fly and just to go and live our lives. It's a scary thing, but I'm sure it was also scary for you to start a movement to push back against that when you're, just a handful of pilots and employees pushing back against your employer. What were the emotions that were tied to that?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been a real emotional roller coaster. I've kind of been aware of what's going on for a few years now, just watching the train kind of roll down the tracks.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's been very scary, because you're putting your livelihood on the line. Like I said, I was a single father of three, and everything I've done in my life has been aimed at flying for Southwest. And it's a fantastic company to work for up until this point. And I love coming to work. I love the people I work with, and we have a lot of fun at work. And as you know, and that reflects in the public image we have. We love our customers, and we want to provide safe and efficient travel for people who are traveling on Southwest, especially through the holiday season. Um, so, yeah, it's been a roller coaster, ups and downs. You can't win every battle, but the war rages on, and you just got to learn from your mistakes and continue on. And I fully expect at some point to lose my job, but I think that people need to break the golden handcuffs. I think that's essential in going forward and winning a war. I have a ton of financial responsibility that I bear that burden squarely on my shoulders, and God has a plan, and I fully believe that no matter what happens, I'll survive and I'll be happy. It might not be as easy as it is now, but that's fine. And I don't think, personally, my opinion is that you have to be willing to sacrifice, right? Freedom is not free, and people need to determine what that cost is. And I'm willing to lose everything in order to protect America and protect our future.
It's very, very courageous of you, and we thank you for it, because you're right, freedom isn't free. And when it comes to stuff like this, we have to look at what, the core values of our nation are. And there's a lot of people out there that say, look, I can't afford to lose my job. This is my livelihood. This is everything, and I can't lose it. So I'll take the job, I'll comply, and I'll move on with my
Yeah.
life.
And that's exactly what they want you to do.
Right. And what's your advice to them in finding the courage to say, no, this isn't okay. I'm not going to be pushed around like that. And to know that there's other options. You don't have to be stuck in the same job.
I think people need to look, as conservative people, we're in the position now because we've just been living our lives. We just want to be left alone. Let me raise my kids, let me work my job, and just don't bother me. And largely, we haven't been engaged. And now is the time to step up and be engaged. Be engaged in, you've heard it around the country, get involved in your school boards, run for office, fight back. And that's a long battle ahead. And that's just what the other side's been doing for a long time, is they've been grabbing that territory while we've been just minding our own business. So personally, people they need to go through that emotional roller coaster too. But the way to do that is to educate yourself on what's going on and consume that. It takes time. It takes months for people to be able to go through that and make it right in their head and understand exactly what is at stake here in the country.
Right. Absolutely. So you mentioned educating yourself. I think that's a huge part of it. Is a lot of people just feel like they don't know the resources that are out there for them. How did you go about in some of the resources that you use to kind of know, like Title VII, and how to put a lawsuit together and how to put a group like this together?
We started originally United Airlines. Unfortunately for them, they were the first one to go through the gauntlet, and basically the company threw a hand grenade in their laps and said, good luck. They hosted a town hall here in Houston at a local church, Spring First Church. And the pastor there, his name is David Hogan, and he hosts a YouTube channel called Worldwide Impact. And they had a town hall, and they brought in Matt Staver from Liberty Counsel, who attended on screen on a Zoom call. And Liberty Counsel was an excellent place to go to understand your rights under Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and also for people wanting to file medical exemptions, their rights under the American with Disabilities Act. Pacific Justice Institute is also another good one. And then Move Freely America, they have all those resources on their website as well, so people can go read. Outside of that, I like viewing shows such as yourself and many other conservative outlets who give facts, right? And they're not. One of my biggest points is to just turn off national media. I think if people turn off that and they go seek answers on their own instead of just listening to what the news tells them, I think they're going to find a completely different view about what's going on in America from people just like us.
Absolutely. So last question as we kind of, wrap this up. And again, thank you for your time. What, is the end goal that you guys are working for? Obviously, we're pushing back against vaccination mandates, but this has a bigger reach than just that. I mean, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
That's a great question. I want my kids to remember what 2019 was like. I think 2019 was more or less the pinnacle of American existence in the world. And I don't want to see that eroded. I want the country to stay a world superpower and to be the hope for the rest of the world. I mean, America is the beacon of light. If America falls, where is there better to go?
Mhm.
And that's the foundational question I think a lot of people need to ask. If we give up and let them take over, um, what future do we leave for our children, and what does that look like? And that's where I tell people, like the Gavin Newsom story, Justin Trudeau in Canada, and then the future, could it look as bad as Australia is right now? I hope it doesn't go there, but we can't let it go there. And America needs to find their rebellious nature and push back. It's been a part of our legacy since the foundation of the country.
Absolutely. It's so true. And if, like you said, if we fall, where else do we go? We are the best. So.
Amazing that the three words in the Constitution, "we the people," and how those three simple words ring true in America right now. And I hope that people wake up and get more involved and understand exactly what's going on and band together, because you are not alone. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people just like me, putting in countless hours and working their tails off to stand up for our liberties and our rights as American citizens.
Absolutely. And I think there's more of us that feel that way than don't, but it's just such a scary thing to push back against the people that pay you and, support your livelihood. And they
Yeah,
seem big and scary, but
history favors the bold.
that's very true.
Great. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.
Take care.
If you're a conservative ready to stand firm in their beliefs and fight for freedom, you're not going to want to miss a single episode of the Raised Right podcast. You can subscribe on any of your favorite podcast apps so you're up to date on what's going on in the political world. Be sure to like, follow, and share our content on the Instagram page at Raised Right Podcast and Facebook and Twitter at Raised Right Pod. This is what it means to be raised right.